Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astotar Srimad, His Divine Grace. Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koda Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
So, Prabhu, shall I start reading the Lilamrita?
Please, Prabhu. Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just I'm just sharing the screen. Los Angeles, October 1968. Srila Prabhupada returned to find devotees living and worshipping in an exciting location on Hollywood Boulevard. A large Sankirtan party organized by the disciple Tamal Krishna would chant Hare Krishna on the streets all day and sell back to Godhead magazines in larger quantities than ever before, as many as 200 magazines a day with a collection of over $100. Then, one day, shortly after Prabhupada's arrival, the landlord evicted the devotees from their place on Hollywood Boulevard. With no temple, the devotees moved to scattered locations throughout the city, as many evenings as possible. However, they would all gather in someone's garage, lent to them for the evening, and Srila Prabhupada would chant Hare Krishna with them and lecture. Then Prabhupada rented a former Christian church on La Cienega Boulevard. He introduced more regulated deity worship and an increased Sunday love feast. Each week would bring a new specially planned festival with a big feast and hundreds of guests. These new programs in Los Angeles encouraged Prabhupada, and he wanted to see them introduced in ISKCON centers throughout the world. Hare Krishna. So I'm finishing.
Hare Krishna. So this morning we are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 3, text number 11. Rishabhadev's appearance. Asanganish, and it's in prose. I think somewhere it was written that this is prose, so that it doesn't have specific meter that I know for this. So please bear with me. Asanganisita jananala vidhuta shisha malanam bhavet shvabhavanam atmaramanam muninam anavarata parigonita gunagana parama mangalayana gunagana Tanosi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Dear Lord, all the great sages who are thoughtful and saintly persons incessantly recount your spiritual qualities. These sages have already burned up all the unlimited dirty things, and by the fire of knowledge strengthened their detachment from the material world. Thus they have attained your qualities and are self-satisfied. Yet, even for those who feel spiritual bliss in chanting your attributes, your personal presence is very rare. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The priests in Maharaj Nabi's sacrificial arena appreciated the personal presence of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they considered themselves very much obliged. The Lord's appearance is rare even for great saintly persons who have become completely detached from this material world and whose hearts are clean due to constantly chanting the glories of the Lord. Such people are satisfied by chanting the transcendental qualities of the Lord. The Lord's personal presence is not actually required. The priests are pointing out that the Lord's personal presence is very rare, even for such elevated sages, but that he was so kind to them that now he was personally present. Therefore, the priests were very much obliged. Om Magana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Grave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master is forcing me to open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. So, Lord Rishabhadev's appearance, and we're hearing the priests of King, is it Nabi? Nabi's sacrificial arena. So these priests are very, very special priests, and to the extent where the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared at this sacrifice. And I think it was mentioned a little earlier that they're feeling a little embarrassed because the purpose of the sacrifice is has been considered to be somewhat materialistically connected, because there's a desire to have a son like the Lord. So this is a very exalted state of consciousness where we hear about the consciousness of King Nabi. We hear about the consciousness of the priests that are performing the sacrifice. We hear about the great personalities, the sages, that had already burned up all the unlimited dirty things. So, and Srila Prabhupada in his purport has stated a number of things. They appreciated the personal presence of the Supreme Lord, and they consider themselves very much obliged. The Lord's appearance is rare, even for great saintly persons who have become completely detached from this material world and whose hearts are clean due to constantly chanting the glories of the Lord. And then Prabhupada said, such people are satisfied by chanting the transcendental qualities of the Lord. The Lord's personal presence is not actually required. So it's a very interesting statement that the Lord's personal presence is not actually required. It's definitely desired. The desire of the devotee is always there to be able to see Krishna, to come close to Krishna in some way. But it's said that familiarity breeds contempt. It's a very interesting point. Familiarity. we have to be very, very careful not to become familiar with anything in devotional service, not to become familiar. We don't have the problem of becoming familiar with the personal presence of the Lord because most of us don't have that access. The Lord has not revealed himself to us, and therefore we think maybe there's something lacking. But Srila Prabhupada is saying the Lord's personal presence is not actually required. Why? Because the devotees of the Lord learn how to be fully absorbed in discussing the transcendental topics of the Lord. Satam prasangam mama virya samvivo bhavanti rit karna rasayana kata. That's Joshanat asua pavargavatmani shradhara tir bhaktir anukramishiti. In the third canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, uh, 325:25, the statement is made there that the, how does that begin? Satam prasangam. Hold on, I better find it. I usually can remember that verse. Satam prasangam mama virya samvivo bhavanti ritkar rasayana katat shoshanat aso pavargavat mari shradhara ter bhaktira nukramishiti. It says that devotees engaged in the transcendental. Let's see if I can get the beginning of that. In the association of pure devotees. Let me read a little bit here from the third canto. In the association of pure devotees, discussions of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. Now, I mentioned this before, that it's very pleasing to the ear, but it's not just pleasing to hear, it's actually very satisfying to the heart. So, read Karna Rasayana Kata. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So, in the association of pure devotees, these discussions are very pleasing and very satisfying to the ear and the heart. And by the cultivating this knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced in the path of liberation. So one moves through the process of devotional service. We understand that devotional service begins from Ado Shraddha. A little faith is there. Then we associate Ado Shraddha. Then Sadhu Sangha, we associate with devotees. Then Bhajana Kriya, then Anartha Nivriti. So these are the gradual processes. And real devotion begins when we go beyond Anartha Nivriti, where we come to Nishta, and where our devotion becomes fixed. It says here, thereafter, he gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, freedom from the anarthas, and thereafter he becomes freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. So this is an amazing state of consciousness where we move from the how would we say, the dutiful performance of devotional service, the Vaidhi Bhakti, where it becomes Raga Bhakti, where there's a spontaneous attraction. Now, Srila Prabhupada in different places, he describes this as happening, it doesn't take so long. Srila Prabhupada said that in the beginning, one has to perform this devotional service under the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master. And then he knows that he has to rise early in the morning. He has to enter the deity room before doing so. He has to take his bath and he becomes cleansed. And he performs all those activities under the instructions of the spiritual master. But gradually, he becomes inspired and is thinking, just like if one is dressing the deity, the pujaris are thinking like that. How can I dress Krishna especially nice today? How can I decorate him? How can I make him very happy and blissful? And how can the devotees become blissful by seeing the blissful Lord? So this is the mood of the devotees. And I'm going to suggest that in our progress in devotional service, this may come and go. And I think in the Madhurya Kadambini it is explained like that. It may not be completely fixed, but it may appear that inspiration and that spontaneity may be there. And we may go and think we can run, just like a child is learning how to walk, and the child uh, gets up and runs and falls flat on their face. But so in that way, we may also do something similar. We might get quite excited that, oh, I think I'm nearly a pure devotee. We've only been devotees for 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 or 5 years or whatever it may be. And then we find ourselves flat on our face again, struggling with different anarthas. And we think, oh, I thought I was doing okay. And uh, the Lord says in the 11th canto, you are doing okay. Continue, continue. Don't stop, because you've had a fall over. You've become bewildered in certain ways. Some material desires are manifesting. Some conflict is coming in one's life where there's disagreement with this person or that thing. Uh, So this is a gradual process. By cultivating this knowledge, by regularly hearing the Bhagavatam and rendering service, gradually we become advanced on the path. That anukramishati, uh, anukra, anukramishati means will follow in order, gradually, step by step. So we get to this point of the Shraddha becomes rati or attraction. And then, how is that there? Where is it saying? Rati. Shraddha, ratir, bhaktir, anukrami. Then real devotion and devotional service begins. So devotional service begins right from the very first time we chant Hare Krishna. It begins there. And it is pure devotional service. It's following, we are described as we are Prabhupada Nugas. That's a later term that's coined for the followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And there's the Rupanugas. We are all Prabhupada Nugas who are all Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami and the uh, Goswamis of Vrindavan. And they're giving us the mood of devotional service as ordained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining everything to us. Trinadapi Sinichena. We may not have any attraction for the holy name of the Lord, but if we are humble, if we develop humility, then we can enter into this arena in a way that will not cause us to commit offenses. We may commit many offenses either in the chanting of the holy name, Nama Aparad, and there's Seva Aparad, and there's Vaishnava Aparad. We can be offensive all over the place. So Lord Chaitanya was always encouraging that Trinada peace and each, one should become more tolerant than a tree, more humble than a blade of grass, and always ready to offer all respects to others. So we train ourselves in that way. And sometimes the most difficult persons to offer the respect to is the devotee. Because why? Because we become too familiar. We become familiarity, as I think I mentioned earlier, becomes familiarity breeds contempt if we become too familiar. And guru aparad, if we become too familiar with the spiritual master, then we will make offense, and that will not be good for us. The spiritual master is not so worried about some little offense, but it's for your benefit. The spiritual master may chastise, may correct, may show. Hari Sori Prabhu told a nice story once, and he explained that Srila Prabhupada had asked him in Vrindavan, I think it was, that please bring that red folder. So Hari Sori went over and he couldn't immediately see a red folder. So he said to Srila Prabhupada, oh, there's no red folder here, Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada said, it's there. Bring the red folder. And then it went back and forward once or twice, and Hari Sori said, but there's no red folder. And then he said something to the effect that there's a kind of pink folder here. And Prabhupada was quite upset with him and corrected him. This is red folder. You've become so so advanced that you're able to correct your spiritual master and tell him it's not red, it's pink, it's a deep pink color. So this familiarity creeps in, and then we start to find, oh, I'm correcting my spiritual master. Maybe I need to correct Krishna. Also, there's another little story that comes to mind that SB Keshava Maharaj was sharing, and he said, I'm up for correction if I got it wrong, but I think it was Sanatan Goswami's Brihat Bhagavatamrita, where he's telling a lovely story that of how this familiarity in relationship to Krishna. So the cowherd boys, this is in Goloka Vrindavan, and everything is very intimate. It is the closest loving relationships. And so the cowherd boys were wrestling with Krishna, and Krishna was defeated. And then for one who is defeated, they have to carry the other party on their shoulders. So they said, Krishna, it's time for you to carry one of us on your shoulder. And Krishna said, no, 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 I'm not carrying you guys. No, no, I'm not carrying you guys. And they said, but come on, Krishna, you have to. That's the rules of the game. You got defeated, so you got to carry some. He said, no, no, no. He said, I can't. I'm the son of Nanda Maharaj. He said, I can't carry you guys. And he said, no, no, you have to. Nanda Maharaj, there's no difference. Nanda Maharaj may have a few more cows than everyone else, but that's not an excuse that you can't. You're not that special. Come on. And then he said that. Well, I'll tell you why I can't. He said, I'm God. And the cowherd boy said, what are you saying? You're God. Um, this is too much, Krishna. You're always coming up with something. And they said, you show us then, show us how you're God. And then it was explained in a moment, Krishna, through his internal potency, manifested all the cowherd boys and himself in the Vaikuntha realm. So that all the cowherd boys found themselves there, and Krishna, their Krishna was being worshipped with great awe and veneration in the Vaikuntha loka. So all the cowherd boys became so overwhelmed, and that's our Krishna. He's being worshipped by the great sages and the great rishis and by Sanskrit prayers, and they broke out spontaneously into singing the prayers of the glorification of Krishna, which they like to do in Goloka Vrindavan. They're always glorifying Krishna. So they started to sing some Brijbasi bhajan, and then they were chastised by uh, the Vaikuntha Lokavasis, and he said, "No, no, you can't. What is this? You have to chant properly. We are worshiping the Supreme Lord here." And then they became very, very embarrassed and very frustrated, and Krishna, they said, Krishna, please get us out of here. This is too much. It's all bewildering to us. And in a moment, they were transferred back to their pastimes with Krishna. And then Krishna said, you see, I'm God. And they said, well, okay, this time, Krishna, you can get away with it. But but tomorrow you have to follow the rules. And again, Krishna had covered them by his internal potency. Um, so anyway, I didn't tell the story quite as well as Keshava Maharaj. He tells it so sweetly, but hopefully you got the idea. So I was thinking of that pastime, and I was thinking how easy it is to become familiar, and how exalted the personalities of Goloka Vrindavan are, that they can intimately relate to the Lord and never cross the line of familiarity. So just see how exalted those personalities are. And you think, well, I'll never be able to go there because I'm so fallen. But the amazing thing that everything is possible for Krishna. Everything is possible for Krishna's devotees. And even the Jagais and Madais can be delivered by the special mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And even the Kirata, Hunanda, Palinda, Pulkasha, even the Palindas, the Greeks, and the Huns, the Germans, the Europeans, all the different nationalities, even the Kiwis, we all can be delivered by the special mercy of the Lord's devotees. It's by the Lord through the agency of his devotees. So going back to this sloka that we were reading from third canto, in the association of pure devotees, these discussions of the pastimes are of the Supreme Personality of God, very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and to the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced in the path of liberation. Sounds really exciting, sounds good. And then you become freed. And what are you freed from, as we discussed, is from the anarthas, all the things in the heart, which explained in today's verse. These sages have already burned up all the unlimited dirty things, and by the fire of knowledge, strengthened their detachment from the material world. So there's a nice verse just a little bit later on in the same 325, 43 and 44. In fact, these are the two concluding verses of that chapter, which is called the Glories of Devotional Service. So in these verses, it explains Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yoga, it's 325, 43, and 44. So it explains Jnana Vairagya Yuktena Bhakti Yogina Yogina Shemaya Pada Mulame Pravishanti Akuto Bayam. So it's a beautiful verse. The yogis, or these great sages, equipped with transcendental knowledge and renunciation. And it's not just that they have transcendental knowledge and renunciation, these yogis, but we're talking about the bhakti yogis, those who have devotion to the Supreme Lord. They're and engaged in devotional service for their eternal benefit. So these are the yogis who've got transcendental knowledge and renunciation, and they're engaged in devotional service for their eternal benefit. They take shelter of my lotus feet, and since I am the Lord, they are thus eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead without fear. So I'm going to read this beautiful purport. One who actually wants to be liberated from the entanglement of this material world and go back home, back to Godhead, is actually a mystic yogi. The words explicitly used here are yuktena bhakti yogena. Those yogis or mystics who engage in devotional service are the first-class yogis. The first-class yogis, as described in Bhagavad Gita, are those who are constantly thinking of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, I'll just see if I can go to this verse and come back and forward here, but the very famous verse, which I often forget in the Bhagavad Gita, is Bhaktyatu ananyaya shakya aham evam vidorjana gatum. I always forget that verse. Gatum drastum chatatvena pravishtum cha parantapa. So it connects to this whole subject matter. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am standing before you. So this is the direct revelation which we're hearing, that the priests of Maharaj Nabi, they're so obliged that somehow they're gaining something which is very, very unusual. It's very rare for the Lord to actually reveal himself. He remains hidden. He doesn't reveal himself very often, but it's very rare. Even Narada Muni, when the Lord spoke, he heard the Lord and then he gained the darshan of the Lord very momentarily, and then the Lord disappeared. So he was seeing the Lord within, and then externally he saw the Lord without. And he said, I'm seeing the Lord. And then the Lord disappeared and said, in this lifetime, you will not see me again. Oh my, and I was, oh my God, how is that? Because the Lord wants to increase our desire to be with him, to hear about him, to be fully absorbed in him. And in the right time, Krishna reveals himself. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that I'm revealing everything to you, Arjuna, on this battlefield, my universal form. You're able to see me, and now you're wanting to see me again in my two-handed form. And only by this undivided devotional service can I be known as I am, standing before you. So I'll just return back to this purport, where Srila Prabhupada is explaining this devotional, great yogis equipped with transcendental knowledge and detachment and engaged in devotional service. Uh, these yogis are not without knowledge and renunciation. To become a bhakti yogi means to automatically attain knowledge and renunciation. That is the consequent result of bhakti yoga. In the Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, it is also confirmed that one who engages in the devotional service of Vasudeva, Krishna, has complete transcendental knowledge and renunciation. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojata Jnanayatya Suvairagyam Jnanam Chayada Hoitaka. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Continuing the purport, and there is no explanation for these attainments. Ahoitaki, without reason they come. Even if a person is completely illiterate, the transcendental knowledge of the scriptures is revealed unto him simply because of his engagement in devotional service. That is also stated in the Vedic literature. To anyone who has full faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the spiritual master, all the imports of the Vedic literatures is revealed. Yasha deve para bhaktir yasha deve tataguru tashaite katitaryata prakashanti mahatmanaha. Only to those great souls who have implicit faith in the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. So this is the great secret of how to gain the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is very rare. He does not have to seek separately. The yogis who engage in devotional service are full in knowledge and renunciation. If there is a lack of knowledge and renunciation, it is to be understood that one is not in full devotional service. Wow, so there you go. Thought we were doing really well there. We had all the boxes ticked. But Prabhupada said, if there is a lack of knowledge, maybe we do have a lack of knowledge, and maybe our renunciation is not complete, then Prabhupada said it is to be understood that one is not in full devotional service. Because in the next verse, Prabhupada explained Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. One has, going back to Prabhupada's purport reading just now, the conclusion is that one cannot be sure of entrance into the spiritual realm in either the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence of the Lord or the Vaikuntha planets within the Brahman effulgence unless he is surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The surrendered souls are called Akutobaya. They are doubtless and fearless, and their entrance into the spiritual kingdom is guaranteed. The surrendered souls are called Akutobaya. They are doubtless and fearless, and their entrance. Now, going on to this next verse, it's very much connected. Itavane Valokishmin Pumsam Nishreya Sudaya Tivrena Bhakti Yogina Manomaya Pitam Stiram. Translation. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in the intensive practice of devotional service. That is the only means for attainment of the final perfection of life. Prabhupada said many times, many places, that one has to organize one's life in such a way that he cannot forget Krishna for a moment. Yeah? Satatam kirtayantamam yatantascha dridavata. And also, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. They're not interested in the Gramya Katha to converse about this, that, and the next thing. Bahushakayanantascha, those who are not resolute on this path of devotional service, their intelligence is many-branched, and they're celebrating their many-branched intelligence. Yes, we are able to absorb ourselves in this source of pleasure, that sort of pleasure, and we're going to try this, and we'll try that, we'll try this. They don't understand that they're trying again and again. Puna punascharvata charvananam. They're chewing the chewed again and again. And they're not getting what they want. Therefore, they're called mudha. So this many-branched intelligence, and the devotee is seeing this many-branched intelligence has caused me so much misery. And now I'm hearing from the great souls that this endeavor is useless and that you should realign yourself with the process of devotional service, which anarto pashamam shakshad bhakti yoga adhokshaje. The anartas, the unnecessary things that we suffer from, they're superfluous. In the second canto of Bhagavatam, it says the anartas, which are superfluous to us, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service, but the mass of people do not know this. Therefore, the great sage Vyas has compiled this Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, and people will get light from this Purana, which is connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So somehow or other, we have to come to this this conclusion. This is the conclusion of all Vedic knowledge. That is the only attainment the only means for attainment of the final perfection of life. I'm going to read Srila Prabhupada's purport. This is the conclusion of the glories of devotional service. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in the intensive practice of devotional service. It doesn't, as I've said before, it doesn't mean intensive, that it's like, oh, intense practice. It means full absorption. It means pure heart. It means full devotion. Uh, that is the only means for the attainment of the final perfection of life. And that perfection is to be happily engaged in the Lord's service. Purport. Here the words mano maya pitam, which mean the mind being fixed on me, are very significant. One should fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna or his incarnation. To be fixed steadily in that freedom, again, Prabhupada very cleverly puts that word in, to be fixed steadily in that freedom is the way of liberation. Ambarish Maharaj is an example. He fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. He spoke only on the pastimes of the Lord. He smelled only the flowers and tulsi offered to the Lord. He walked only to the temple of the Lord. He engaged his hands in cleansing the temple. He engaged his tongue in tasting the foodstuffs offered to the Lord, and he engaged his ears for hearing the great pastimes of the Lord. In that way, all his senses were engaged. First of all, the mind should be engaged at the lotus feet of the Lord very steadily and naturally, because the mind is the master of the senses. When the mind is engaged, all the senses become engaged. That is Bhakti Yoga. Yoga means controlling the senses. The senses cannot be controlled in the proper sense of the term. They are always agitated. This is true also with a child. How long can he be forced to sit down silently? It is not possible. Even Arjuna said, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. The mind is always agitated. The best course is to fix the mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. Mano mayarpitam stiram. If one seriously engages in Krishna consciousness, that is the highest perfectional stage. All Krishna conscious activities are on the highest perfectional level of human life. So, I was listening, I can't remember all the points. Keshava Swami, I listened to him a lot, and he described so many things for this process. So we need to have this fixedness. I think Prabhupada used that word in different places too, fixedness. To become fixed, we need so many things. Our health has to be vibrant. We have to be in good health so that we can not be dissuaded by ill health. We have to have good association. We have to find that good association that inspires us so that we can be fully absorbed. And there are many other aspects that and going back to Trinada Peace in Ichena, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he spoke in his Shikshastaka, giving the verses to become fully Krishna conscious and to develop that humility is so important. It affects every aspect of our existence as devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said it should be strung around the neck. So this idea of seeing the Lord to get the Lord's darshan was also mentioned in the Shikshastakam. It says that Aslishava padaratam panasto mam adarshanam marmahatam karotuva yata tata va vitato lampato mat pranatastu sa eva naparaha. And this is the final stage of pure devotional service, where text number 8 of the Shikshastakam, it says, I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or he makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. Adarshan. Don't have the darshan. He, the Supreme Lord, is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. So this is the desire of the devotee, to become unconditionally surrendered to the Lord. And whether he makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me, or he handles me roughly by his embrace. This is the mood of the gopis' love for Krishna. Whether he handles me roughly by his embrace, or he makes me broken-hearted. And broken-hearted they were, but that broken heart was the highest ecstatic love. And they're feeling that I will give up my life in a moment. And we cannot imitate this, but that would be nice. But to even say these words is very special, and to contemplate the idea is very, very rare. But to actually have that, because to have that mood, we have to have all the other points in the Shikshastakam, as we've said. We have to develop an attraction for the holy name of the Lord. Sorry, I've gone too far back here. Yeah, we've got to become attracted to the Sankirtan movement and engage in the Sankirtan movement. Then realize that the holy name of the Lord, no hard and fast rules for chanting these names, but you enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But we're so unfortunate we don't have attraction for the holy name. Maybe a little, then not, then but we don't have that full attraction. And then Lord Chaitanya says, once you chant in a humble state of mind, seeing oneself lower in the straw in the street, become more tolerant, ready to offer all respects to others. And that's a whole discussion, meditate how to always offer respects to others and not want respect for oneself. Whew, work on that one, folks. And then it says that one identifies himself, I'm your eternal servitor, yet I've fallen into this horrible world, horrible ocean of birth, and please pick me up and place me as one of the atoms at the lotus feet. And then, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body standing on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, so the devotee is actually feeling separation. He's feeling lost in the world without the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. Nice to say it, but nice to say. Wouldn't it be nice to actually be in that state of consciousness? And then finally, I know no one but Krishna is even if he handles me roughly, or he makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. And just in closing, Mukunda, in Chaitanya Leela was told that the Lord doesn't want to see you in his assembly anymore because he had acted and he had gone and listened to certain personalities with Mayavad traits and was going here and there a little. And the Lord was quite upset by him, so he decided to chastise. He said, "Tell Mukunda not to come here. I don't want to see him." So the devotees were thinking, "He's very dear to you, my Lord. But no, he can't come to see me." So he was informed, and and then Mukunda was, as you can imagine, devastated. And then, when will he be able to see the Lord? The Lord said, "You can see me in a million births." And instead of being um, devastated, he was actually, he became ecstatic. He started to jump and dance and sing, and I get the darshan of the Lord. So that was his spontaneous love, just immediately sprouted that I'll get the darshan of the Lord. I don't care if I've got to wait for a million births. This is the actual mood. And we think, oh, if I can't get home this lifetime, then I don't know if I can continue in my devotional service. It's a great struggle to think whether I could continue. And so we're very passionate. We want success immediately. Yeah, instant coffee, instant this, and we want instant bhakti. And we want, but we're being encouraged to gradually make progress on this path. And we can become inspired by these great priests that the Lord, spontaneously, the Lord, due to his pastime of wanting to manifest himself um, as Rishabhadev, but he was very pleased with the mood of the priests that that were performing the sacrifice, and very happy to hear their prayers that they're offering. So I'll finish at that point. If anyone has any, especially reflections, some of the points that we've been discussing, and please feel free to share your reflection on any of these points. Something might have touched your heart in hearing all these shastric points, and you might want to share those things. If you have something, please just unmute and
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Is that Abai?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So very nicely explained so many things, but the reflection about Mukunda Datta you told that when he was told he can see the Lord after millions of life, he was not dejected and he was happy to learn that God will at least accept me. So in fact, that is the mood of a devotee.
Wow.
That he knows that Lord will ultimately take care of him, whatever is the situation, because the Lord has told that whoever comes to me, I reciprocate accordingly. And
Nice.
also, in other places he has told, he also gives us the intelligence by which we can go to him. So if we really know that we have no qualities, even then the Lord will not deject us or reject us if we have the faith on him. And that alone is the quality of a devotee, pure devotee, that he is never bothered by the lacking or the shortcomings he has, but he has the faith on the Lord, that Lord will ultimately protect him. And he does not want anything in return, or as you have told, ohituki, his bhakti is ohituki, without any motive. And that God loves. I think that is very nicely you have explained. Of course, you have given so many things. I don't like to take so many explanations you have, I mean, examples you have told that because when we start doing bhakti, the other things, detachment from material attachment automatically goes. And when we have pure bhakti, the Lord automatically take care of it, and we proceed toward the Lord. And Lord, through the protection of the Lord, a devotee can achieve the goal of achieve the fate of the Lord. So that is very nicely you have explained, Hare Krishna. I think that's all I have from my side.
No, nice, lovely reflection, Prabhu. Um, as you're saying that the faith, and as you mentioned faith, I thought, yeah, the faith, and then also what came up by you saying that came up sincerity. Srila Prabhupada spoke about sincerity, that Lord Krishna is known as Bhavagrahi Janardhan. He knows the intention of the devotee. So we may not be fully qualified in knowledge or renunciation or pure devotion, but we even if we don't have the pure devotion, if we have the sincerity that that's what I want, I have so many disqualifications, but I sincerely want, then Krishna will work with that devotee and be able to guide him, uh, as you mentioned, with the intelligence, how to make the right decisions and the right progress. And so that sincerity has to be there. If we are, if we don't, yeah, we have to develop that sincerity of purpose, and not be, and move on from uh, being a casual devotee. We may be a casual devotee, then we can become a committed devotee, and then we have to become fully sold out to Krishna. But we have to make progress gradually on that path. So, any other reflections or question anyone may have?
Hey, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanava Pranam. This is Nandavraj here, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hari Bol Nanda Braj Prabhu. Hari Hari.
Hare Hare. Prabhu, thank you for unpacking this very wonderful verse and so many different angles. Uh, in the beginning, we see that Lord appeared, and instead of Nabi, King Nabi, who's a devotee, offering all this praise, his priests are offering on his behalf. So normally the person who's asking for some benediction, he normally offers praise, but here we see the priest offering on his behalf. Could you please shed light on this?
Hey, that's a nice question. Hold on, I'll make sure I'm looking at the right book. Where are we here? We're not on, we're on five. Chap, that's over here. Let's see if we can get anything. It might have to, you might have to wait it to go on further because the chapter's not that long. No, it's actually quite a short chapter. We've only got a few more verses. It's a very nice point. Yeah, the sages are offering, the priests are offering, um, which I suppose is quite natural because they're acting on behalf. The king doesn't feel himself qualified per se to connect directly and offer prayers. The brahmanas and great sages are that's their job, that's their thing, that's why they're there performing the yajna. The king himself isn't just sitting down doing the yajna because he's accepting the exalted position um, of the brahmanas, um, the priests and Maharaj. Yeah. Any comments yourself, Nanda Braj? Any?
Prabhu, it seems that King Nabi was a bit reluctant to ask for a benediction because he wanted a son like the Lord himself. Maybe he didn't want to come out directly, so he asked him. Maybe his priests are revealing his mind. It seems, it seems like that.
Yeah, uh, could be. It's interesting. I should know. I haven't read this very deeply, to be honest. And um, maybe if I uh, research through, and it may be explained right in front of our nose. You'll most likely find tomorrow somebody will explain it very nicely. Um, so yeah, in that sense, I can't really offer much more. Um, Nanda Braj, I apologize for
That's
that.
fine, Prabhu. Maybe next time you give a class next week or so, maybe we can come
Yeah,
back to
maybe
this point.
I think we often, not often, but sometimes some of the very elevated speakers they say what they have a research department. So the well, and it's a good question for the research department. So I suppose I'm good at giving other people jobs. Maybe like the King Nubby, give the other people the job, give the research department the job. Um, So because you've got some devotees who are very expert at research, and I see that, especially with this modern technology, sometimes Vaisheshika, for example, or Keshava Swami, mainly Vaisheshika, I'm thinking of, he'll be speaking on something, and then someone will ask a question, and then you'll say, maybe some of the research department can give us some insight. And within, 30 seconds or a minute, they've been able to, go on these different devices and find all kinds of quotations. And so we have to get a research department together. Nandavraj.
Thank you, Prabhu. We had to mute this person who is.
Was somebody else coming in there, Prabhu? I couldn't quite hear there.
No, there was somebody who's coughing. I'll mute the person. Just...
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam. This is Poshak Madhav Das.
Oh, Poshak Prabhu. Yeah, I can't quite see anyone, but
thank you. So thank you for your nice class, Prabhu.
Krishna.
I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I just thinking, I think Prabhu was asking, Nandavraj Prabhu, like why they went to the priest. I thought probably something similar to how the demigods approach the Lord via Brahma. Instead of approaching him directly, they go via Lord Brahma. Probably something like that, I thought.
Okay. There's a difference between mental speculation and philosophical speculation.
Yeah, that's what probably mental speculation.
No, it's your philosophical speculation. As long as we don't, there's a very fine border that you can quickly go from philosophical speculation to mental speculation real quick.
Prabhu, yeah, I just had one thought came to mind. So in the nectar of instruction, one of the things what is emphasized is like confidential interaction or the inquiry between the devotees.
Yes.
So that somehow indicates the devotees coming very, very close to each other. And yeah, you rightfully mentioned that too much of closeness, too much of familiarity can lead to like contempt or some kind of aparad, as you rightly put it. So is it like striking a balance between these two, like more the confidential interaction and this avoiding too much of familiarity? Is it to give a personal space to each of the? Is it personal space to each of the devotees, not intruding into the personal space? Is it something like that?
It's a great subject, Prabhu. Great question. Familiarity comes even between, and I'm sure everyone will agree, between husband and wife. It can become too familiar, and it can bring a contempt. So there has to be a certain, as you're suggesting, a certain balance, because unless there's some familiarity between husband and wife, I'm the husband here and you're the wife, and the wife, it becomes very artificial. So there should be a natural, spontaneous, loving affection between husband and wife, between parents and children, between guru and disciple, between the sages and the Supreme Lord. And I'm going to suggest that Prabhupada said to us, first become conscious, then Krishna conscious. So we, as individual devotees, we have to become more and more, it's a lifetime's work to become conscious. How am I being received when I speak? How am I being received when I give instruction, when I give guidance? And being consciously aware of how it's being received. And therefore, so for example, in the interaction with one's guru, if one is able to have a friendly relationship and we are consciously aware enough to perceive our attempts at trying to be in a friendly, loving way, and we're trying to see how am I being received by my superior. And there's always superior. Krishna is the supreme superior, parampara all the way down, and we are trying to learn Gopi Bhartu, Padakama, Dasa, Anudas. So there's always someone in the superior position and someone not, someone in the junior position. And actually, we usually sort that out. The biggest problems we face is often of the equals, because if it's very clear that someone is junior, and someone is more senior, then it's quite easy. It's a lot easier to take up the role, whether you're senior or junior. But when there's equals, that's the tricky part. Because I think I was listening to a lecture a year or so back from Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, and he made a wonderful point. He said that when we interact with someone, we often find that we think, yeah, well, that was pretty good, but I think I'm a little smarter than that person, just a little. I'm not much more. And that's, I would suggest, and he did it very well, helped us to see that that's a very strong default setting that we have. You might have an interaction with somebody, yes, oh, Hare Krishna, and Hare Krishna, oh, yeah, and blah, 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 and it's all good. But then we find the default setting often is, yeah, that person I'm talking with, but I'm a little smarter than them. I'm just a little. And he made that point with just a little. But that little is too big. We're thinking we're better than somebody else. We're not taking, we haven't learned how to interact in such a way which the default setting is humility, where we think ourselves lower than the straw on the street. I mean, I'm really touching this myself now. I'm not preaching to anybody else but me here. It's such a strong default setting. So, yeah. And then again, Vaisheshika, he's always saying, if you think you're the smartest, if you're the smartest, it's kind of related. It's not exactly, but he said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Keep trying to find places where you clearly understand you're not the smartest, you're not the most devoted, you're actually not. You got it real clear. There's no doubt about it. And that's good, to take that association and not be envious. Is another lovely place in the Bhagavatam. Explained that recently, where one is not envious of one's god brothers or god sisters who are more advanced than ourselves, but is able to be happy with that. So thanks for bringing it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very wonderfully clarified that. Thank you very much.
Jai, thank you for your very kind questions and reflections. Really nice. So maybe we'll finish there, Prabhu's, unless, Nandavraj, are you?
Yes, Prabhu, we can finish here. There's no time's running out. So, Vancha Kalpatarubhascha.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai. His Grace Joy Shila Prabhu ki jai.
Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Hari Hari Bol. To assemble devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.